What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Hockeytown University. You are here with me once again, Zach, and his beautiful co-host, not lovely, beautiful co-hosts, Derek and Matt. What is going on, boys? Did you guys have well, not that you guys are mothers, but did you guys have a good Mother's Day this weekend?
You don't know my family situation.
Well,
I was about to say the same exact thing, Matt.
But, apparently Matt's was a little weird, but mine wasn't too bad. I just had to do most of my stuff on Saturday, and it was pretty good. Everything else on Sunday was just me doing chores and stuff that was atrocious. But I love to see my mom. Shout out to all the moms out there. You deserve all of it.
hi, Mom.
Yeah, I had a good Mother's Day, and also today is my mom's birthday, so she got spoiled with two celebrations back to back. So that's pretty cool. I got her a new lotion set, and what else did I get her? I got her another massage set. So basically, I don't have to give her a foot rub because now she has a massage that she can go get one. So that's pretty nice. I figured I might as well pay for it since I don't want to do it myself. So that was a good plan there. But yeah, other than that, just kind of hanging out, not really doing too much. We're kind of winding down with hockey right now. We're one game away from the conference finals. Well, I guess maybe two games away. We'll see what happens in this game tonight. But yeah, we're definitely coming down to the wire here.
Yeah, Mother's Day was good. Shout out to all the moms out there. What do we got in store today? Well, we got a lot of Red Wings stuff to go and talk about, like
Whoa.
the World Championships. Leslie has a rant on Kosa and the Walleye. We also have playoff updates, some trade rumors possibly, and then a draft profile of Dalibor Dvorsky. Before we get into that, though, we want to thank you all for joining us today. For those of you returning, and for those of you that are new, thank you for joining us. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. And for everyone watching, make sure you're hitting that like button. If you are on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, make sure that you're following us and you are rating us 5 stars. 5. So that Derek's little octopus turns that grin into a smile. He's getting there. I feel like he changed since the last time we talked about him.
I mean, he did lose a little bit more stuffing up in the inside because, of course, this was just a little toy when I got it, and I took a knife and cut out its insides and made it a mic stand now. And it's, you know what? I feel like I was pretty resourceful.
Yeah, I can see why he's not very happy because you basically just cut out his butthole and then just shoved him up your microphone. So I don't think I'd be smiling too if that was my situation. So that's pretty cruel, but it does give a nice touch to your microphone. So I will say that.
We're gonna replace the all hail magic conch with your all hail stuffed list octopi. Oh,
The Magic Conch is dead. It's dead. It didn't get his Bedard. Didn't
yeah.
even get his Fantilli. It's dead and gone and buried. And I guess in that situation, we're all Squidward. We're not Patrick and SpongeBob because we did not get what we want. So thanks for nothing, Magic Conch.
Oh,
Speaking
it
of
definitely said maybe next time.
Speaking of, since Leslie kind of brought it up, it just made me think of our last episode, how we did the full first round mock draft. Honestly, you guys blew me away with the amount of views, the likes, the comments on that video. We really do appreciate that. Leslie, people were not fond of you ripping on the Blackhawks for getting the first overall pick. It was so funny.
See if I care.
Like, we're a Red Wings podcast. I don't know what you expect. Like,
What do you
good job
expect
for
from
getting
us?
him, but yeah, I mean, I don't know
Do
what
you,
else you expect from Red Wings fans. We definitely don't like you guys. We don't like Toronto. We don't like any of the original six teams, to be honest with you guys. It's all in good fun, though. You guys
I don't
probably
like
don't like
anyone.
us either. But nonetheless, thank you for all the subscribers. We got a handful of new subscribers, a bunch of likes, and a bunch of views. That really does help us out more than you guys know. So thank you for continuing the support moving forward. We got a lot of fun stuff planned for you guys this summer. We promise. And we got a fun little surprise here for you guys at the end. So stick around and find out what's going to happen. So let's go ahead and jump right into some Red Wings news. Let's talk about the World Championships. So players like Dominik Kubalik, Joseph Veleno, Jonatan Berggren, Yanni Burgers, for those of you that know, Lucas Raymond, Carter Mazur, Moritz Seider, and Oli Maata. for those of you who have been paying attention, they're looking pretty good out there. There have been no surprises, honestly, on my end from what I've been noticing. It is a little hard to watch them though because they are in the middle of the day. Unfortunately, people like Derek can't watch them again, like the World Juniors. But do you guys see any surprises amongst the Red Wings players that are in this?
Well, I'm a little more surprised that I don't see Mazur. Wait,
He's
Mazur,
on
right?
there.
He does look pretty good. I think for a guy like Mazur, he's a young guy. Obviously, he has no NHL skill under his belt and really very little AHL skill. So getting a tournament like this where it's not true best on best, but you are still playing against like grown men. I mean, they're not all up to NHL standards, but you're still going up against grown men, which you'll be doing ideally pretty soon. So it's great practice for him. And really just kind of goes to show the kind of faith that Lalonde has in him, because he is one of the assistant coaches for Team USA. So yeah, that's pretty nice to see that we already have kind of a lot of faith in him to perform at this level.
So let's go ahead and talk about all these players within their first 3 games. So all these players have played in their first 3 games within the tournament. Dominik Kubalik has 6 points, 3 goals, 3 assists. He's a +3. Veleno has 2 points, 1 goal, 1 assist. He's a +2. Berggren has 3 assists. He's a +2. Raymond has 1 assist. He's a +1, and then he got 2 shootout goals today. Mazur actually has 1 assist, Leslie. He's a +3. Seider with 1 assist, and then Oli Maata with 1 assist. So every player in the tournament has a point. That's great to see. Love that stuff. Yeah, Carter Mazur, he's on third line duty. Probably sparring minutes, but that Team USA in general, it's not the greatest roster. We touched on that. So I'm sure he's getting quality time. And like Leslie said, he is with Coach Lalonde. So I'm sure Lalonde is getting feelers right now exactly to see what he can do to utilize him on the Red Wings, whether if that's next year or midway through the season, whatever. So any surprises though amongst the other players? Dominik Kubalik, he's tearing it up. He's got 6 points in 3 games, kind of showing how he was when he came to the Red Wings at the start of last season and then kind of cooled off. Is it going to be the same scenario while he's here in this tournament too, if they keep on making this push?
I mean, let's hope not.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I certainly hope not either. I don't really know if this is necessarily a surprise because I know he's capable of this, but Raymond can absolutely snap it around, man. That dude has such a good shot, and I think it's just because he sparingly used it this year, which I don't really know why, but yeah, if he leans on that shot next year, he's really going to put up some numbers next year, for sure.
I mean, and the only thing that surprises me over here is the next top scorer out there is McKenzie, a 94 defenseman for Calgary. I'm like, where were you not shining like this in the regular season? Like, Calgary would have loved to see you out there doing this amount of games, like 6 points in 3 games. Like,
Calgary, I think needed that at some point. Like, where was he?
I'll give you one word for that. Well, 2 words. Daryl Sutter.
yeah, that's fair.
So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. Let's talk about some Toledo Walleye. The Toledo Walleye are moving on to the conference finals. They swept Cincinnati, the second round team. So that's 2 sweeps in a row. They are currently 8-0 in their playoff run. Kosa, in the meantime, is 4-0 in his 4 games starting. I'm trying to pull up his stats right now, and I don't have him up currently right now.
buddy,
But
you want to know him?
yeah, go ahead and speak them out loud, buddy. Loud and proud. Loud and proud.
I was super happy about this topic today because, god damn, we got Costa and we got Linneman over here. Both 4 games, 4 wins. Costa's over here with a 1.25 per goals against right now. Like, and then a .954 save percentage. That is insane on 109 shots. He's let 5 goals in 4 games. Oh, Costa. You better be in the AHL, if not back up for I almost said Hosa. But then again, we also have Linneman down here. Same wins, 4 games, 4 wins. A little
I wouldn't say worse though on the goals against or even save percentage because these numbers are still really good. A 2.25 and a .925, 120 saves, 9 goals. I say our boys over there in the ECHL are doing pretty well for us, especially on the goalie side.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an insane run for the Walleye so far. 8-0 in the postseason right now. And some people may look at that and just be like, oh, well, they're just doing it in the ECHL. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. I don't care what league it is across any sport. If you are 8-0 through 2 rounds in the postseason, that's absolutely insane. Like, that doesn't just happen. And it's not even just like from the backs of both their solid goaltenders. It's not like they're winning these games 2-0 or 2-1. Last game they played, they won 9-2. 9-2. I mean, that is insane. I don't really see anyone beating this team in the postseason. And I guess that means that I'm saying here on Hockeytown University, you heard it first, they're going to win the ACHL championship. I mean, if it keeps going like this, who out there can beat them? I don't think they're beatable right now.
I mean, it's just insane what they're doing. If people like you said, everyone always looks at it in a weird light just because it's the ECHL. That those people just never have gone to a game and actually watched that league. Like, those men are insane down there because they want to get to the next level. It's almost like watching college football almost before the pros, because I love college football. I hate NFL. I just think those guys are there. They made it, whatever. The college level is our ECHL for our hockey players at this point. Like, those boys are down there just beating the crap out of each other, trying to get out of that league, and they're just producing, especially the Walleye right now. Like, it's beautiful. This is the one thing I wanted to see from the team that I used to skate on their ice back when they were the Storm when I was a baby.
Zach, how you feeling about it, buddy?
Yeah, I got nothing.
All right, then. We took everything he was going to say. But yeah, as far as Kosa goes, like, if he's not in the AHL next year, there's something seriously wrong. Like, that dude is just landing it up down there. And I think that's pretty much what you wanted to see when he went down to the ECHL. We were all kind of nervous about that because it's not ideal for a goalie to do that, but their development path is never linear. So the fact that he's down there and he's tearing it up, and he's still only 20 years old, I mean, that's incredible. Like, there's no reason that he shouldn't be taking over that net in the AHL next year.
And that was Leslie's rant on Sebastian Kosa and the Toledo Walleye. So let's go ahead and kick it around with some around the league news. Playoffs. That's basically about it. Maple Leafs, you suck. Edmonton, you suck.
Go Vegas!
New Jersey, you're young, but you still suck too. Dallas and Seattle, we're waiting on you. You guys are in Game 7 right now. Dallas, I need you to not fuck up my bracket, so please win.
And whoever loses, you suck.
Boys, let's play a game. We did it in the first round, so let's do it in the second round. I know that we're still waiting on this game that is just now starting. However, let's do it again. Let's run it back. If you could pick a player from any of those teams that lost in the second round to trade for, who are you picking and why? And what are you giving up?
This is a one right out of left field. I don't know right now. We have a few more teams to pick from. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, I feel like I probably should know this because I've been doing a lot of Armchair GM, but I don't think I've done it recently with the teams that just got eliminated. I guess I could say Connor McDavid here, but I really don't even know what a trade would look like for him, so I guess I'll leave that on the back burner. That'd be pretty cool, though. I don't know. Maybe a guy like Jesper Bratt in New Jersey. I don't really know New Jersey's cap situation, but I think their situation is they're probably going to have to choose which one they want to sign and which one they have to trade. I think I'd rather have Jesper Bratt because he's younger and has more upside. As far as a trade would go, I think you're probably going to start with the Islanders pick this year. I think that's a safe bet. Maybe throw in one of your seconds this year. And I really don't know what Jersey's prospect pool is. I think a lot of teams across the league, they're pretty set at left D because there's just been so many left D coming up through the draft all these years. But maybe you could give up a guy like Theodore Niederbach. And if that's not enough, maybe give up a young roster player like Veleno. I don't know. There's a lot of avenues you could go down with that, but I think Jesper Bratt is a really good target for us. He fits our timeline. I think he's only 24 or 25. I know he's pretty young still. So, yeah, once you get him in, probably going to be signed to a 6 or 7 year deal. That's going to fit our timeline beautifully. So, I'd be fine with that.
Derek's going to be trading for his twin brother, Jack Campbell. Or Stuart Skinner.
Heck yeah. You mean Stuart Skinner?
Stuart
I was
Skinner.
going to
Yeah,
say,
my
Stuart
bad.
Skinner, buddy.
My bad, bro.
But no,
My bad.
I'm not. I am going to go to somewhere else, though, in Canada. I'm going to jump over to Toronto here, the mystical team that finally made it to the second round just to lose it all to Florida. I'm going to try to poke. I feel like they just they just can't rely on those top lines right now. I mean, it's nice to be a good team in the regular season, a nice team in the playoffs, because, well, that's a lie. I'm sorry. I should have said a nice team in the playoffs. That is an absurd lie at this point. They made it to the second round for the first time in 15 years. I can't say much. But I'm going to jump over there. I'm going to try to steal me a William Nylander. I feel like it's time to break up some of those golden children at 24. He has got the experience, and he was honestly the only one that looked like he was doing anything in that last game. Like, he was trying, he was putting the puck in the net, and he kept going for it. I mean, what I would trade for him, though, I might make a lot of people upset with this, because honestly, I have no idea this trade crap. But obviously, I'm probably going to toss in a first round pick. I'd probably toss in one of the 2023 first, maybe a second in 2024. I'll probably throw in a prospect at the same wing he is, and just to sweeten the deal for them, I'll throw in Zadina. There you go.
I think when you're trading for Nylander, he's going to cost a little more than I think people would think. Pretty much just because he was the only one who performed in the playoffs out of that core four. And player performers are always going to cost a little bit more of a premium, but I think that's a good jumping off point. That's a good place to start. You might still have to add to that. I guess it depends on what Toronto wants in return. I mean, I really truly don't even know what Toronto's going to do. I can't imagine they rebuild, but they're definitely going to want to retool. So I think they're asking for quite a bit if you're going to trade for Nylander.
I mean, I can't even argue it because I was shooting low for someone that's going to be high, like you said, Leslie, but from a
That's
team
a master
that's
negotiator.
Yeah, I mean, you got
Always
a team that
lowball
can't
'em.
produce. So what you going to get for it? Like, you didn't go far enough in the playoffs, but you have a playoff contender of a player that will produce for your team. So it's hard. It's hard. Zach, go before I start breaking over this one.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this one here. It's kind of tough. Not as many teams as the first round, obviously, so you have only a handful of selections that you can choose from. This one might come to a surprise from you guys. I'm gonna go with Edmonton, and I'm gonna go with Evander Kane. The reason for that is because he's a left wing, and he's a pretty gritty guy in general. We could use a little bit more grit. He can score, so he's not a bottom pairing guy. Definitely can play in the top six. So the only reason why I hesitate to say that is because the issues that come with an Evander Kane, like being a gambler who spends all of his money and gets in trouble. But
so much money you can't leave in Vegas.
I think
So what? I do that too.
You should have never gone there.
You know, if Evander Kane was a player that Steve Yzerman truly wanted, I think Steve Yzerman would put the fear of God into him. I mean, have you seen the eyes on Steve Yzerman? Sometimes he gives me the Jeepers Creepers when I'm putting the photos on our thumbnails for him or something.
I'm not sure. When was the last time you saw Stevie Yzerman smile?
Probably went the last time he lifted up a Stanley Cup.
Oh God.
Yep.
Almost
so sad.
30 years ago.
I think he smelled when he drafted Raymond or Seider.
No.
But other than that, probably not.
Smug
I
look
still
on his
even think he
face.
smiled then.
Good. I like that better.
That's who I would go for. Honestly, I think Evander Kane would make a good addition on our team. Like I said, I think the off-ice issues kind of scare me. And also, while I know that he can be a pest on the ice and he can score, I do have concerns on ice as well. While he is kind of a rough and rugged kind of player, I kind of feel like that he doesn't compete as how do I want to explain this? Like he competes, but he doesn't compete like super hard. Like he almost has it's how Bunting skates on the ice with the demeanor because he plays with the other big four forwards on that team, right? So Evander Kane kind of does that with McDavid, Draisaitl, Hopkins, and Hyman. I feel like he's like, okay, I'm with this team. I got a whole bunch of goal scorers, so I could just walk around and kind of get the easy way out in scoring.
I mean, you're not wrong. He really can. He just has to pass the puck one way or just tip a shot, and he's got a point.
Well, there's a reason why he got. I don't know if he got traded from Buffalo. I believe he got traded from Buffalo to San Jose, and then there was obviously the reasons why he got bought out from San Jose. So before all the gambling issues, maybe it's just the player thing. Like I said, maybe it's on ice issues, not just the off ice issues too. But nonetheless, yeah, I think I would add an Evander Kane in hopes the bad doesn't come with it. So,
I mean, wherever he goes, he does seem to be on one of those top two lines right now. So obviously, teams see some value in him.
plus
I kind of feel like he's the John Morant of hockey. Just really got on the ice, but just a complete and total moron off the ice. But I guess he hasn't been flashing a gun on IG Live, so not quite like Morant, but still pretty stupid.
Well, and also I think that the cost to get him definitely isn't that much. He was injured for a decent amount last season, so that helps.
It won't be that much.
Yeah, consistent 20 goal scorer.
I think he's going to be the odd man out because I think Edmonton is going to want to try and retool a little bit after getting bounced in the second round. I mean, they were in the conference finals last year, so this is, I don't really want to say it's a failure of a season, but it's not exactly what you would come to expect from this team that looked like they were poised for a cup run. So, yeah, he'll be the odd man out, and probably even another one of that core players, too, will be the odd man out.
So let's go ahead and jump into the next topic about this, Leslie, and this is where you get to go off on your rant because I'm assuming it was a rant about Toronto or Edmonton and how bad that they were. So I had this written down already. This was pre-written down. I wrote this down at the beginning of the playoff season because I knew both teams were going to get knocked out. It was just when was it going to happen? So I had this written down and it's highlighted on my screen. When Toronto and Edmonton get knocked out, make an episode why paying big bucks to multiple players does not guarantee you a chance at the cup run. Guess how much Toronto spends on 5 players?
I feel like I've already seen this, so I may be cheating a little bit, but I don't remember the exact number. It's close to like 35. No, it's more. It's like 40 million for 3 players.
$47.5 million for 5 players. It's their big 4, and then the one defenseman that they had, and then Edmonton with 7 players, they have 52 million and a quarter tied up to 7 players. Your roster can fit 23 players total on it, and your cap hit's $82.5 million. What does this tell you about these two teams? To me, when I read it and I'm looking at it, this is the recipe on how not to make it to the Stanley Cup. Neither one of these teams made it to the finals in their conference, let alone to the Stanley Cup final. That's bad. But neither one of these teams have even won a conference final. I think Edmonton made it, like 3 years ago, 2 years ago?
Well, they made it to the conference final last year, but I think the last one that they won was, oh my God, they were in the Cup final sometime in the mid 2000s. I want to say it was 2005 against Carolina or 2006. So that would be the last time. Yeah, pretty much. I hear what you're saying. I think as far as Toronto goes, it's definitely the contract situation and probably also a little dash of black magic in there because that team is just cursed as cursed gets. I mean, they are just, I don't even know what's going on over there. They need like an exorcism or a seance or something to get rid of their bad juju. But yeah, that's not a good recipe. And really, when you read off all those numbers and say they're tied up in 5 or 7 players, that just kind of leads me to see that their depth isn't getting it done. And that is true in some cases, but also with the core four in Toronto and some players in Edmonton, they weren't getting it done either. So when you don't have your top guys producing and your depth guys never have, you're not going anywhere.
I mean, we can just see at this last series here with Toronto. How many goals did their top line or top player score?
I mean,
0.
it was pretty much only Nylander that scored, and
Exactly, and that was pretty much the last
yeah.
game. I mean, we can see plain as day that, like, if you're trying to spend all this money on these top players, like, yeah, you need one or two of them. You can't do 4 or 5 deep of top players where you're spending all your entire cap, because we can have another example. Look at Seattle. They are just a very good team, just all around, though. Like, they don't have a stacked player here, there, or there. They're just a good line, then line. Like, that's we're seeing right now. That's basically what you need to go for a cup run, and they're in their second year pulling a cup run right now, trying to beat Dallas out in the Game 7 as we speak. And
I'm glad that you brought up Seattle, because I think their blueprint for a team is exactly what Detroit is going to look like when they start making their cup runs. That's a team that just gets it done based on depth. Every single line can score no matter who you put out there, and they don't have a true superstar, which neither does Detroit unless Mitch Cobb falls to us in the draft, which, newsflash, he won't. He won't make it past Washington, if anything, but yeah, that's the blueprint right there. And also even Carolina, too, who's already in the conference finals. That is a really defensively sound team. They play really good team defense, just like Lalonde is trying to do with the Red Wings. And maybe you could say they have more star power of Aho and Svechnikov, although he hasn't played at all in the playoffs. They do have some good pieces there, but I think those two teams are what you're going to see out of a playoff contending Red Wings team. Those are good teams to look at.
Oh, I do love that. I love they brought Carolina too, because that's perfect. Them in Seattle. Sorry, Zach. Didn't mean to cut you out, buddy.
No, you're good. Yeah, let's talk about, Leslie, you brought up depth, that none of these teams, none of their depth actually ended up contributing to the playoffs. So let's go ahead and start with the Edmonton Oilers. We're starting from the top down in terms of points. Connor McDavid finished out with 20 points in 12 games, and he got Draisaitl at 18, Bouchard at 17. That's fucking insane for a defenseman. Zach Hyman with 11, Hopkins with 11, Matthias Ekholm with 7, Klim Kostin with 5, Kane with 5, McLeod with 5, Yamamoto with 4, Darnell Nurse with 4, and the rest is 3 and under. Actually, before I go into the Edmonton Oilers, let me go ahead and spiel off with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So the highest point getter there was Mitch Marner with 14 points in 11 games. Morgan Riley,
I never would have guessed that.
Matthews with 11, Nylander 10, Ryan O'Reilly with 9, Tavares 8, Matthew Nyes with 4. Jesus. Sam Lafferty with 3, and then that's pretty much it. The rest have 3, 2, 1, 0.
Dropped so fast.
So Leslie brings up that none of their depth players showed up to play. Now you look at the names on these depth players. I mean, like, the only one on Toronto who's not technically a depth player would be Michael Bunting, who plays top line. He finished with 7 games and 2 points. Granted, he was out for three games, and then he just didn't get to play on the one because they figured, oh yeah, not having Bunting helps us out. Which was true. We called that. Like, if they added Michael Bunting, that they might have lost the series. And they did. They added Bunting back. But let's go ahead and, before I lose track, let's talk about these teams' depth. They don't have depth. That's why they call them the Big Four on Toronto. And then you see, like, the 5 or 7 players that they have with Edmonton. They don't have depth. They only have their good players, and that's it. I mean, even Toronto, they have a Ryan O'Reilly. You can consider him your depth player on that team, but these teams don't have depth because they just have too much money tied up. So Edmonton, we talked about how they don't even have defense. They don't have goaltending. That's how every game was such a high-scoring game. And then Toronto, they just couldn't figure it out because, like you said, they have black magic voodoo all over them, whatever it is. But I think it comes down to the cap. Realistically, I really think it does. And I think that these teams have to move one of their bigger players. And I don't think it starts with Nylander. I think you have to pick someone who's making that north of $10 million in order to bring in players that play a more defensively sound game. look at Edmonton. They had 3 100-point getters this season. They don't need more scoring. They really don't. They need more defense and goaltending. Are you guys like following with me on this and like agreeing with me on this? Or I want to hear from you guys because that's
Buddy, yes. We've all watched the same games. We've been watching the Edmonton Oilers forever now since McDavid just been on there. You can't not watch him. They score a crap ton of goals, but of course on the other end, they let in a crap ton of goals. Like their defense is terrible, probably one of the worst. Like they'd have nobody that can actually stop anybody. If you get a straight down a 2-on-1, I'm terrified for them. That's a bad sign when you have a goalie and 2 defensemen and 1 forward, and I'm scared they're going to score. You probably should not have that on your team. Like you got to sacrifice something. That's why no one liked my trade for Draisaitl on Cat Friendly, but I thought it was pretty good. Just lowball him a little bit.
Nobody likes any trade on Cap Friendly.
Yeah, no one will, honestly. I am there just to create chaos, though, so everyone upset makes me happy and fuels me, so give me your insults, because I thrive.
Yeah, the way that Toronto specifically builds their team, it's so odd to me. They almost kind of build them like an NBA team, where they're like, all right, we're going to get our starting 5 out there on the ice, and they're going to win every game because they play so well together. You still need to figure out the other 18 forwards on your lineup and then the rest of the defense and the goaltending too, which they never really did. It kind of felt like every year when Dubas was the GM, he kind of would just look at those core 4 and just be like, all right, well, there's so much money that they're making right there, and hey, they do pretty well in the regular season. Maybe I just don't need to worry about adding any more defense, and I'll just let them score in the playoffs. They never showed up in the playoffs. This second round, I think Auston Matthews had, 1 goal, maybe 2 goals. Mitch Marner scored 1 goal. I'd have to look at the rest of the numbers, but the fact that none of them showed up in the second round shows you how, frankly, Toronto almost got swept, and I'm surprised they even stole a game. I think they finally realized that last game when they were down 3-0 that they had to play a tighter defensive game rather than just flying around and trying to score every time and set up opportunities. And then for some reason in Game 5, they decided, hey, we got 1 win. Let's not do that again. Let's not do our winning formula again. And then, look at that. They lost. So I just don't really understand why these teams are built like this. This is the NHL. You need to play a good team game across all 4 lines, all 3 pairings of defense. And your goaltending needs to be good too. Neither one of those can be said about Toronto and Edmonton.
Well, and it's kind of funny, right? Because you brought up the Red Wings, so let's talk about that. How can the Red Wings not end up
Good.
like the Edmonton Oilers or the Toronto Maple Leafs? And honestly, we're already way different than those teams are. You look at those teams got to draft forward heavy. They had the luxury of drafting Auston Matthews, Mitch Marner, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. And then you look at the Red Wings, we had the luxury of drafting Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider, Simon Edvinsson, Marco Kasper. We have Dylan Larkin. Did I say Edvinsson? I can't remember. We have Kosa, So
Good now.
we have built realistically more so on the back end than we have on the front end. And that's what it seems like is the way that you have to go to win. Because like Leslie said, you look at these Carolina teams, and then Derek said, you look at the Seattle teams, that Seattle team is built on second liners alone. Like middle 6, second line forwards alone. And then their defense, they don't have a top tier defenseman. They have Grubauer, who won the Stanley Cup with the Washington Capitals 3 or 4 years ago. And he wasn't even good in that Stanley Cup run. His team kind of had to carry him in that.
Wasn't even a starter.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So, what the Red Wings need to do is do your best not to tie up so much money into one player or just a couple other players. And, a lot of people are saying, yeah, we got to sign Seider. We have to sign Raymond before they can make the case to make more money next off season, which I think that Yzerman should be prioritizing right now, is trying to sign them right now. Seider, it could be anywhere from $8 to $9.5 million. Obviously, the cheaper, the better. I think you're going to be. I think Yzerman is probably going to sign him to a cheaper contract. I really do, because what is he? He's 21, maybe 22 years old. So if he signs an 8-year deal, he's just under 30, maybe at 30 years old, that boy's going to play until he's 38 anyways. I'd be shocked if he doesn't.
We can see with Larkin, like the team itself is built that way. Larkin took the pay cut just for the team. Two deals in a row now. If that's not love for the team, I don't know what is. And if we keep that kind of aspect in the locker room, I would have to say, we'll be seeing these deals come back a lot shorter than we would expect, just so we have the opportunity to build more depth.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to go into next was Lucas Raymond. His is probably going to come up a little bit shorter because his time frame is still probably a little unknown. And then you look at all the other players that we named too. We don't know what time frame that they're on when it comes to their next contracts. We haven't even seen them play in a full season in the NHL, let alone Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider. But let's go back to what I said, like we're almost kind of like doing the opposite of what these two teams are doing. But also, does it help us that we don't have a superstar? Imagine if we did kind of get Connor Bedard. In 2 to 3 years, he's going to be asking for a max contract deal. He's going to be getting 8 by $12 million because in 5 years, that's going to be one hell of a steal. So are we lucky right now that we technically don't have a superstar talent? We have a Dylan Larkin, a Mo Seider, and Lucas Raymond. That's kind of about it. Should we be thankful for that we're not in a cap crunch situation, kind of like some of these other teams that are just hopeful, wishful thinking with their fingers crossed?
I mean, it's nice to have wiggle room, but also nice the fact that we have a cushion. Because these players aren't bad by any means, and they could all pan out to be just a gold mine, and we'll get them at the cheap. If not a gold mine, I'd still say mid players at worst, and that's what we have in Seattle. So I'd say that still is a pretty good pan out for us.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to sit here and say that we shouldn't be going out and signing a guy. I mean, if we can get a Mitch Marner for what he makes, fine, it is what it is. If you can tie like 1 or 2 players to that while the cap goes up, great, okay. I will say this, that's the part that really does suck for Toronto and Edmonton, is that they probably signed these players to these deals expecting the cap to go up, and they were all signed before COVID hit, and COVID stopped the cap for like 3 years. So that should win. Kind of throws a wrench into everything for those teams, so it sucks for them, but sucks to suck. So Leslie, you kind of disappeared for a little bit, but let's get your take on that. Is it kind of a good thing that the Red Wings don't have a superstar? Because then we'd have all this money tied up, because now we have to wait for Seider, Raymond's contract, Larkin just signed his. What if we went out and traded for someone like we keep on talking about?
This is almost kind of a tough question to answer. I almost want to say it's good and also bad at the same time, because you kind of have to more closely define superstar, because there's 2 different superstars in the league. One is Auston Matthews, who literally scored 60 goals last year and automatically is going to score 30 every year. He doesn't do anything in the playoffs. Then there's Matthew Tkachuk, who had over 100 points this season, and he might win the Conn Smythe this year if Florida wins the Cup. So it kind of depends on what it looks like. I think to have a superstar and have them asking for a lot of money, it's a good thing for your team overall if you have that guy on there who is pushing you to greater heights and kind of putting you over that hump of kind of where the Red Wings are, where they're kind of stuck in the middle. Like, if we had a Bedard, we'd be in the playoffs already. And I think you just kind of have to look at what kind of value that player brings to your team. And if he's asking for over $9 million a year or almost $10 million a year, they may be worth it. I don't know. It's kind of a tough question to answer. I think Seattle is kind of just making do with what they have because they just don't really have a superstar. And I mean, they're a new team. They're not just going to get one right away. But I think if you're choosing between wanting a superstar who you're going to pay a lot of money and not wanting one, they could rather have one.
Sorry about that, everyone. Derek decided to disconnect on us. So Derek missed out on some of what Leslie had to say, but I'm just going to ask you guys the question again in general as a whole, just kind of give me like a quick spiel on it. How do you guys feel if we did added a player via trade that did come in at 10 million plus? Do you think that that's something that we're okay with handling, or is that something that we're nervous about because we look at these teams as an example that paying so much does not guarantee you a cup run? considering the fact that we don't have a superstar ourselves.
I mean, I guess it depends on who we're getting. If it's a player that we know is going to be consistent, we know is going to score nonstop, we know is going to be that good for at least another 5 years or the remainder of that contract that we get him on, maybe. But at the same time, like we said, we're seeing in this day and age that having a top huge player with a massive salary, it really won't cut it for you. It doesn't really do too much. I mean, I think I might rather have like spread the love a little bit, get say 2 players for $5 million that are both second liners and see how they produce at this point, because obviously for Seattle, for Carolina, it's working out pretty well. I'd like to see how it goes for us.
What about you, Matt? I put
just like
Leslie
Derek
and
said.
Matt together. That was so weird.
Yeah, land out here, boys.
Go ahead, Mesley.
I don't even know how to follow that one up, but yeah, kind of disagreeing with Derek. I think it depends on what kind of player you're getting. Like I said, there's 2 different superstars. There's your Auston Matthews that score at record clips in the regular season, but just completely disappear in the playoffs. Then there's Matthew Tkachuk, who got over 100 points and probably will win the Conn Smythe for the Florida Panthers if they win the Stanley Cup. So you really have to kind of make sure that, number one, you have to kind of look at like what the player brings to your team. Like, I think if we got like Connor Bedard on this team and he was going to be the superstar that everyone knows that he will be, I'd say he's probably worth that money. I think the big thing is you can't just tie up 9 or 10 million in 4 different players. I think it's okay if it's like your team MVP and he's very clearly the most valuable player on your team. Yeah, they probably deserve that money, but don't hand out the same contract to Lucas Raymond or, I don't know, Marco Kasper if he gets up to that point. I really think the player's value has to be reflected in the contract, and I'm not really so sure that Marner and Matthews' values are reflected in their contracts. I mean, sure, just looking at the regular season, you probably say they're worth every penny. They don't do anything in the playoffs, and they have never made it to the conference finals. So, yeah, I think context matters in that question, but I think ultimately you'd rather have that superstar on your team, and they're probably deserving that money, but just don't go crazy with signing people to those contracts.
I will not lie, though. I will take a Matthews Tkachuk all day long. If he wants to leave that wasteland of water down there and come up to the nice, beautiful, cold, frigid air of Michigan, I'm okay with that. I want Matthews Tkachuk on our team. That'd be fun.
Come from the warm swamp up to the cold swamp. It's not much different except for the weather change. He looks like a hunting guy to me anyways. He looks like someone who grew up in that kind of setting.
He deserves some camo, a shotgun, and I think he's all set.
I think the issue with that is people from Michigan usually move down to Florida, not the other way around. So I don't know if that's going to happen. You're probably going to have to back up the Brinks truck for him. But yeah, what I want Matthew Tkachuk on this team in a goddamn heartbeat. I would love it.
So let's go ahead and go into the next thing that's about that. So we're saying here that we'd be okay with the right player at that cost. We just talked about how we don't have any of those types of players. So we would have to trade for one. So we're okay with backing up the Brinks truck to create that trade scenario to get that player to pay them that much money.
I almost kind of feel like you have to be okay with it because how else are you going to do it?
Yeah, so I'll let you kind of think about it a little bit. Me, yeah, I've been on the fence, and like I a lot of fans online, it sounds like that they're one-sided. They're like, yes, you have to go out and get someone who's ready now to make us competitive more than what we were. And to me, I hear that and I'm like, I understand the argument. Like, I want to make the playoffs too. But to get the players that are putting up the 40 goals a season, if it's not from a team that has issues with the player or just their whole entire roster in general, it's not going to be cheap to get those players. And where we are at currently and the picks that we have upcoming in the draft and even in next year's draft, I'm almost at the point to where I'm telling myself I don't even want to take the risk at shipping any of these off. Even some of these prospects that we already have and have drafted and developed, I'm almost nervous to ship them off because I don't want us to be in a situation where we're giving up so much and for just hopes. Because Leslie's right. Like if it's for the right player, if you can get like a Matt Kachuk that someone like can perform for you in the playoffs, then yes, I am backing up the Brinks truck with all my assets that I have. But if it's for someone that's like a Mitch Marner who, okay, maybe Marner isn't the greatest example. Maybe someone like a oh
Think of
boy.
Tampa.
Well, they all put up points in the playoffs, but okay, Marner and all those top four, they didn't show up in the first 3 games. So yes, they technically don't show up in the playoffs, but you guys are kind of getting my point, right? It's that like you have to make sure that you're getting the right player in return that Leslie said. Yes, that is very much correct. So, but I don't think I'm ready to give up all these assets. I mean, we haven't even utilized the picks. I think that we still have opportunity to get a Braden Point in the second round or whenever Braden Point was drafted. We have a chance to get an Alex DeBrincat. We have a chance to get, these players that dropped and we haven't been able to get one yet. So why are we giving up on that opportunity now to trade for a ready now player? I just think we're kind of being rushy. This is only Eiserman's 4th year. I personally would give him 2 more years. I know people probably don't like that, but like I said, I'm not ready to open up the cupboards to bring in one player to make us have less cap and we have less prospects. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. What do you guys think about that?
I don't know, man. I mean, you kind of just look at this lineup and our prospect cabinet, and where's that superstar coming from? It's not in the lineup right now, and it's probably not in the prospect cupboard. We don't have a Matthew Kachuk in the prospect cupboard. We don't have. I don't know. We don't really have a Mitch Marner, which I don't even. Maybe we don't want one after what we've said about him in this episode, but we just don't have that caliber of player. I mean, sure, we have guys that could be that. What's Lombardi going to be? What's Mazur going to be? What's Soderblom going to be? We don't know yet. I mean, I could say right now, Mazur is going to win the Rocket Richard. I'm not wrong because he could, and we don't know. But I think at this point in the rebuild, and not even just the rebuild, not even just looking at it from the Red Wings perspective, we have teams like Buffalo and Ottawa around us that have tried to make moves to be competitive now. I mean, Ottawa traded for DeBrincat last year. That was a move to be good now. And that's our direct competition right now. So if they're going to go into this offseason and just spend, and try and get elite talent on their roster, it looked pretty bad for Steve Yzerman to not try to do the same thing. I mean, maybe it's just because we're at different points in our rebuild. Like, we definitely started ours later than both those teams did. But that's your direct competition right there. You can't really let them lap you because Toronto and Boston and Tampa, they're probably not going to fall off. So that leaves Detroit next year pretty much where they were this year. And you really don't want that.
So before you go, Derek, Leslie, to tie up with that, well, Yzerman at his press conference, the end of the year press conference, right? He said he already thinks that Buffalo and Ottawa are ahead of us. And not only did Ottawa add DeBrincat, but they also added Jacob Chychrun at the end. Personally, I will disagree with you that I don't think that you need to stay caught up with them because I think that puts you in a bad situation. Because I do think that Ottawa is moving things a little too quickly. Granted, I do think that the trade that they got for Chychrun was a great deal. It was basically what we got for Philip Peronic. They just got an extra second out of it or whatever it was. But I think that might be the recipe of disaster is trying to compete with someone who's in your own division. At that point, then wouldn't you say, because you can already see that Toronto's still technically good. They haven't made any moves yet. Tampa Bay is still good. Boston's still going to be good. Ottawa and Buffalo both are way ahead of us currently. If we are going to jump those 2 teams and somehow be just as competitive as those other teams, we're going to have to give up a lot all at once. And I don't think I'm prepared for that. And I don't think fans are prepared for that. And I don't think a lot of fans truly comprehend what that could do to our franchise. And it really could hurt us. like that just makes me nervous. I think that if you're playing the game to be at a specific level to match these other teams, I think that's the wrong way to go about it personally.
I really think that fans in Hockeytown are ready for a push. I mean, it's been what, 8 years of no playoffs?
Well,
Like we can't do this anymore. I understand that we started the rebuild very late, and that's not even Steve Yzerman's fault. He inherited a complete and total mess when he got here. Like I totally get it, but at the same time, what other teams are there in Detroit that we're going to watch in the playoffs? The Lions? Are you really going to say the Lions are going to make the playoffs? I'm personally not going to say that, although everyone else is, which makes me very nervous. But I mean, come on, we saw how close this team was to a playoff spot this year. If those two Ottawa games went any differently, we would have added. I mean, Steve Yzerman would have looked at this team and been like, you know what, maybe we can get over the hump. And I think he would have added at the deadline. I really feel like you probably do need to give up a lot. And honestly, you may not be ready, and that's fine. But we're at the point in the rebuild where it's either stay pat and keep sucking or go for it. You got to do one of them. But I don't know. I think I just see all these future assets that we have with all the draft picks, 5 picks in the top 2 rounds of this draft. I really don't want to see Detroit make all those picks. I want them to spend it on something, and who knows what that could be. Everybody has different ideas, but I really just want to see them go for it at this point. I really do.
Let's hear Derek's thoughts real quick.
Oh, I am literally on the fence with both of you because I understand Leslie's play, especially from the fan standpoint. I want to see us at least make it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I'm also coming from a GM standpoint where I understand what Yzerman's doing. He has all these picks, all these prospects, but the good part is these are all very cheap. Like, we're not spending money for these guys right now, and we want to spend money for them to keep them around too. Depending on what these players turn into, it's going to be a nice thing. I mean, do we need a star player right now? God, yes, we do. But is that part of the Yzer plan? I don't know. Like, Steve could be cooking up some stuff because obviously since he's been with us, we've progressively gotten better and better and better. And what's to say in 2 years, like Zach said, we're not just getting upped and upped depending on what we get in the draft, what our prospects end up coming up from the AHL or ECHL. We don't really know what we're getting yet because all these guys are so young still. So it could be a good idea to trade some of them away right now just for that potential of them being that good and not having to bust in the future, having some other team having to deal with that. But having them good now shows that we have a prospect, we can trade them off. Or is it going to be worth our while keeping them a little bit longer, 2 years, 3 years, see how they produce, and if they end up becoming the next McDavid or Draisaitl or a Matthews out of nowhere or a Marner, then we have even more potential to trade them off too and have even a bigger price point on their head. But as a fan, do I want to sit here and have to wait for us to finally be a contender in 2 years and pray that all these picks and all these prospects pan out? Not at all. Let me tell you, I want to see something happen right now. But I want to come from the standpoint of a GM and say, I think I understand what Steve's doing. I will continue to trust him. He has been my go-to player ever since I was born, since I'm pretty sure he became captain the year I was born. So it's hard. It's really hard. I see both your sides of view of this, and it's the worst part because I'm going last. So I'm like, it made me have to think a little bit more than I wanted to. But right now, I would have to go more so with Zach. I want to hold off a little bit. I want to see what these guys can pan out to, because I think we might be able to get something good in these picks, something good with these prospects. And I'm just hoping that they pan out.
So
And before we move on, I just want to say one other thing, and I'm not saying that you guys are saying this, but there is definitely a crowd out there who is looking at the Red Wings right now, and they're saying, oh, well, if we spend too many assets and we go get a guy and we don't make the playoffs, what's the point in doing that? I mean, if you're pushing for people are saying that if we get into playoffs right now as we are, and maybe we make one more addition, it almost would hurt us in the long run because, this team is just going to get dummied in the playoffs. In game 81 of the regular season, the Florida Panthers were not in the playoffs. In the next game, they won and they got in. They beat Boston in 7. They made Toronto look like a peewee team, beat them in 5. Now they're in the conference finals. So you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. Huso can stand on his head and steal you a bunch of games. Larkin and Seider can go beast mode and drag you into the second round. You have no clue what's going to happen. I think a playoff run for this team, it's going to revitalize Hockeytown. I mean, if you next season can get into the playoffs, regardless of the outcome of the playoffs, you're going to sell a lot more season tickets, and that's going to make the team a lot more profitable, which I know is what Steve Yzerman and the owner wants. So I think any push for the playoffs really won't hurt you at all. I think it'll do more good than bad.
Yeah, what I was trying to say was I'm not against making a push for the playoffs, but I would rather try making that push without having to try and trade for a player that can go out and get you 40 goals. Because, like you said, we were in a playoff spot before those 2 Ottawa games. Then what happened? We traded 3 or 4 players, and then a bunch of players got injured. So, what I would prefer to see is that we don't make any big trades. You can make some trades, maybe not to where you're trading the 9th overall pick or the 17th pick. I would rather trade the prospects I have, what I know I have, versus what I don't know what I'm going to get. So I'm not trading any of my seconds. And I kind of forgot where I was going with this, but I just kind
Well, I
of
would just agree with you that I'm not trading 9th for very much out there. I don't think there's any option out there on the trade market that I would spend the 9th overall pick for. I mean, the 9th overall pick in this draft might as well be a top 5 pick in any other draft. This draft is just so deep. I'd rather use that one.
so if I am remembering what I thought I was going to say, yeah, I think I would rather give it until because like you said, Leslie, if we were that close to making the playoffs, who's to say that we can't make the playoffs this year without going and buying via trade for a top player? If we can do that, then by all means, you have my 100% off. I don't even know what word to use. You have my permission to go out and trade for someone at this point.
Support.
But I think it's dumb.
You have my
to go-
blessing.
but I don't think that it makes sense to go out and trade for someone to help you make it into the playoffs. I think you should be able to build a team. Like last year, we didn't trade for anyone. Yzerman did a bunch of free agent signings, and we were that close to becoming a playoff team. I'm not saying go out in free agency and sign a bunch of people again, but what I am saying is that I don't think you need to go in trading for a 40 goal scorer right now. I think that's something that we can wait for.
I think that's just kind of part of being in the murky middle right now, like we are. You're going to have one side that doesn't want to go for it yet and make those additions, and one side that wants to go balls to the wall and trade for Connor McDavid. And I don't even know if either side is wrong, to be honest. It just depends on how you look at it.
No, 100%, and that's what we're here for. We're not trying to say who's right and who's wrong, but we're definitely trying to help people understand that there are 2 sides, right? Like there's a side where like you can make that push, but still trying to be like standoffish to where like you're not trying to overspend, or you can go balls to the wall. But one example I want to make is a team like the New York Rangers. Before they won the 1st and 2nd overall pick, they made a trade for Mika Zibanejad, and then they were able to get Artemi Panarin through free agency. So if we can do something like that where we trade for one really good player and then we can sign a really good player in free agency, I'd be happy with that. So that's why I'm kind of standing off from going guns a-blazing. We need to go out and get a 40, 50 goal point guy. I'd like to see our team from within what we have try to make that push for the playoffs first before we try to bring someone outside in to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're going to see, because that was Yzerman's one big point, is build for the draft. That's what he did in Tampa. That's what he's doing here. And I think if anyone can do that, it's Steve Yzerman.
We'll just have to wait and see, everyone. Stick around and find out. So let's go into our next segment, which will be our draft prospect profile. Who's it going to be, Leslie?
It is going to be Dalibor Dvorsky.
Do you want to kick it off for us, buddy?
Do I want to what?
kick it off for us with Dalibor Dvorsky.
Oh, I suppose so. So Dalibor Dvorsky has been playing in the hockey, I'm going to say this wrong, but hockey Allsvenskan. Sure, why not? In Sweden. Before the World Juniors, which he did have a very strong World Juniors, there were kind of some concerns about his production because he hasn't really been super impressive in that league. And I just want to remind everyone that that is the minor league in Sweden. It's not even the SHL. So he had 14 points there in 38 games. That's not amazing. That's not lighting the world on fire. Then the World Juniors rolled around, and he had 13 points in 7 games playing for Team Slovakia, which Slovakia pretty much had him and not a whole lot of anything else. So he very much did put the team on his back. He plays the center position. He's also listed as a winger on Elite Prospects, which is interesting because I thought he was going to be a true center. But
He will be.
okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm sure he'll project as a center in the NHL, which will be good for the Red Wings. They'll want to add another young center prospect. What else did I want to say? 6'1", 200 pounds. It's pretty big for a 17-year-old. I don't think it's going to take him very long to hop into the lineup. I've definitely seen this guy rocketing up the draft boards. I've seen him as high as 5 overall to Montreal. And I gotta be honest, that wouldn't really shock me if they took him. He's a good pick for them. I think they have some pretty decent center depth, but I think with a guy like him, he's so high end that it's not a bad idea to take him. I think that would not be a wrong pick at all. What I really like about him is it's kind of going to be similar to Marco Kasper's profile, where he's really good at everything, but he's not super flashy. I wouldn't say he's great at one thing. He just has a really solid overall game. He's a very smart player. He really knows how to open up the ice and make passes. He also has a very strong 200-foot game. So I really think that he's going to be a solid player in the NHL. Maybe he might take a year or two of developing to kind of just try and get his point production up, because one of the things about him is he's not super creative. Like, he's not a really creative playmaker, but he does have a good shot. He just doesn't really select his shots the best every time. But I think with a guy like him, with that really special shot that he has, you can just kind of work with him. The coaching in Detroit will work with him and just kind of give him some pointers on how to pick your shots better. Yeah, I really like him. I think his game overall is just really solid. And like I said, I think he can just kind of try and be a little more creative out there. Yeah, I definitely think a good comparable for him is Marco Kasper. Kasper, I think right now is a very similar player to him, and we've seen how Kasper's looked. He played a game for us this year, and probably would have played even more if he didn't shatter his kneecap. So, yeah, I think if we drafted Dvorsky right behind Marco Kasper, he's the second best prospect right there for center.
It's really tough to decipher Dalibor Dvorsky a little bit. Everything Leslie said was right. He's good at passing. He's definitely a 200-foot player. He's definitely a good center. He's gonna pan out as a center. He's not fast, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't know how to skate. He's just not explosive. Just kind of doesn't know what to do under pressure a little bit. Kind of gives up the puck a little bit when he is in those battles. That's something he'll just learn over time. Yeah, he's got a good shot, but his selection just needs to work on that. That comes with time as well, just making sure that you're learning the open lanes and everything. Yeah, just really good at opening up the play for his players, honestly, just kind of being that supporting role. He's not going to be the main goal scorer on his line. He's going to be the supporter for sure. His compete is pretty high, and that's where you can see the Marco Kasper comparison. They both come from Sweden, at least in their hockey leagues. Like Leslie said, he plays for the Allsvenskan League. That's their minor league in the SHL. But also, it's not really his fault. I think the team that he plays for, AIK, they the way that the SHL works is that they do What? Not
Relegation.
Yeah, I almost said regulated again. I don't know why. I always want to say regulated, but the relegation. So that team that he plays on, they must have been relegated at some point, and so if you win that championship, then you get bumped up in the Swedish Hockey League. So I think that, you look at his stats for the J20 this year. In 10 games, he put up 10 goals, 11 assists, 21 points with players still technically older than him. He's 17 years old. Then he goes into the men's league, which it is a men's league. It's just the different tier of style of play, I guess. It's basically the AHL for the SHL. So the 14 points in 38 games, yeah, the points don't come off the board, but as a two-way centerman, he's working on his defensive play. He's working on his all-around game, just trying to be that guy on the open ice. And to me, that screams a little bit of Larkin comparison, because Larkin is a two-way centerman and then finally is starting to find his scoring production. Finally becoming that point per game player that he is. I love Dvorsky. If he was at 9, I don't know if I would take him. I don't think the Red Wings are poised to take a center with their first pick. I would much rather see a winger. I think winger is probably one of our, especially on the left side, is one of our weaker ends. Even though we do have Larkin, Casper, Veleno, we have Lombardi there. So I think with the 17th pick, you could take a center, or with one of your second round picks. Yeah, Leslie's right. I think Dvorsky definitely is going to get taken in the top 10. He could be taken at 5. He could be taken at 6. I've seen a lot of mock drafts that have Montreal and Arizona taking him. I've seen Philadelphia. I've seen Washington. I've seen all those teams. Every once in a while, I'll see the Red Wings, but I don't see it happening. He's a really big boy, and I do think that he is taken in the top 10 by someone, and someone is getting a really good center, and I do think that he pans out as a 2C at the end of the day. I don't know what Derek's doing. He's next.
I'm just over here trying to make the dog shut up. But I don't think
I
I'm
guess
going
it
to
didn't
go
work.
with that luxury.
Hi, doggos.
Yeah, all right. But truthfully, when I look at him, I'm going to make an older comparison than you guys do. Someone who's not even in the NHL anymore, but still relates to the Red Wings, because that's really all I can go off of. I don't care about any other team. But when I look at him, just from his style and comparison to videos of
You're going to say
not the
Zetterberg, aren't
late,
you?
but the great Zetterberg. You turd nugget. Yes, I'm going to say
I know
Zetterberg.
exactly where he was going with that. And
Well,
honestly,
yeah.
Derek, that's a great comparison. I don't even know how I didn't catch that. I said Casper. I was like, oh, yeah, we have a really good center who just finished playing too, Zetterberg.
But, man, when I pulled him up, the only style I saw as a pure 200-foot player, like we are all saying, he does offense, he does defense, and he does them both great. His back checking's immaculate. I mean, his speed could have worked, but at the same time, Zetterberg had no speed at the beginning. If you go look at his highlight reels before he got drafted, obviously, they look horrific. It's old. I'm sorry, everybody. Get used to it. TV did not always look like it used to be right now. But yeah, it looks bad, but at the same time, you can see that there's a player in there that goes back and forth, tries his hardest. I mean, he might not have the most immaculate hands in the world. He may not boost off his skates right away like you see McDavid do or Draisaitl. But he's a pure player that goes back and forth. He has the skill that he needs to actually be out there. The intelligence. Like, all I see is a new Zetterberg coming up into the league. And if that's the case with this kid, someone's going to get lucky. Do I think it's the Red Wings? No, I'd rather take him with our second pick, that's for sure. And will he be there? Probably not. Even though I keep looking at elite prospect and whatnot, and you see that he can go as late as 17, but that's never going to happen with this kid. Like, if I'm seeing it right now, that means 95% of the GMs have seen it. So I'm pretty sure this kid's probably going to go in the top 10 pretty easily with this skill that he has and his hockey knowledge. So I anticipate someone trying to steal him pretty quickly.
Yeah, I would say for those of you that are looking at the rankings on elite prospects, just be careful because a lot of those did come out in March. Obviously, that's before the World Junior Championship. So we look at Dvorsky's numbers, like Leslie said. He put up some pretty good numbers. So I think this kid, he's just got to get a little time playing with men, just figure out his defensive game, then the offensive numbers will come. Like Derek said, yeah, I think that this kid will be taken in the top 10. He's the biggest center outside of the big four or big three. Bedard, Carlson, and Fantilli. He's the biggest one. So yeah, someone's going to be taking him in the top 10. Personally, we haven't touched on Oliver Moore. A lot of people have Dvorsky pegged over Oliver Moore. Are you guys sitting with that?
I honestly haven't watched too much of Oliver Moore play, but I don't know. I think that's probably not like a bad take. I think it kind of depends on what team. I don't know. Honestly, you'd have to watch more Oliver Moore to figure that out, but I still kind of feel like Dvorsky is one of the better centers in this draft.
Okay, so here's the best way that I guess I can explain that too. So you got Oliver Moore, who's more giftedly offensively, and then you have Dvorsky, who's way better defensively, and he's bigger.
I think in terms of the two of them, I think Oliver Moore has better skating. I really think Oliver Moore is the best skater in this draft. That doesn't necessarily mean that his 200-foot game is going to be better. I think Dvorsky thinks the game at a different level than Oliver Moore. He has some really good... I think he's a really good guy to break up like odd man rushes and that sort of thing. Like he always is... From the highlights I've seen, he's always in the right spot and getting a stick on the lane and breaking up passes. So I think he's a really good defensive player, but maybe Oliver Moore's skating is an attribute that he has over him. But... it's hard to say who would produce more at the NHL level. I kind of lean more towards Oliver Moore, but I just haven't seen too much because, Dvorsky plays in the minors in the SHL. It's kind of hard to really figure out what his offense is going to be. That's kind of a hard league to scout, but I still feel like both of them are going to be really good centers at the NHL level. Probably both of them are going to be 2-season NHL level for their respective team that drafts them.
Leslie just gave me an answer to a question that I did not even ask. I asked who would go first, Oliver Moore or Dvorsky. Not who's going to put up more points.
Oliver Moore is going to go first overall.
All right.
We can only hope.
There you go. And then Kyle Bedard will be there at 9. I don't know. I guess I'm going to say Dvorsky.
All right. Derek, go ahead.
Just because that's what I've seen.
I mean, not to go off Leslie's rant there about which one, well, I mean, not even which one was going to pick first, but I mean, both players have great attributes that it depends on which team has them available at the same time. So it's going to be a back and forth debate. Like, do you need the more defensive player that's going to may not produce as many points? Or do you need the point production to help your offense out? It's like, it depends on what the team is going to need, offense or defense. Or, if they don't need really either, it's just a mixture of both, to see what happens to help the whole team. I say, defense, help the whole team, you're probably going to Dvorsky or Moore on this one.
So, I'm with Leslie. Dvorsky.
Yeah, depending on the team, in general, I think Dvorsky goes first. I think the defense aspect of the game, that's harder to teach than the scoring. You're taught how to score from a very young age. Everyone can score when you're peewee, just skating around on your skates, It's really hard to be that type of player that Leslie said. Break up the lanes, get your stick in there, battling for the puck, Oliver Moore has the skating to get himself into those situations, but does he have the same hockey IQ to be in the right positions to break up those sorts of passes? Where Henrik Zetterberg was able to do that because he didn't have the speed, but he knew where he needed to be when he needed to be there. So if I were the Red Wings and you had both options, I think I would... Oh boy, no, I can't say that. Okay. I don't know which one I would take, but I do know that Dvorsky is going to go first. I would love an Oliver Moore only because he's Larkin 2.0. And I hate boring hockey, so I'd probably take Oliver Moore if I had both on the table, to be honest with you guys. I don't want to be the Carolina Hurricanes or the New York Islanders, Leslie. I don't.
Oh, so you don't want to win games then? Okay. And you get in the playoffs?
Not first round exits, buddy.
That That was an odd choice because last time I checked, I'm pretty sure the Islanders got in, the Red Wings didn't. So that was an odd choice to use.
How many series have you guys won in your franchise history? We have more cups than
well,
you guys do
recently in the
series
last-
wins.
Got to the conference finals 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't even remember. It was a few times with Trotz, honestly. I can't even remember.
I mean, the real end to this, they lost.
So, yeah. How about we, before we close it out, let's do a bracket update for everyone. I'll go first. So far, yeah, I suck at brackets. I told you guys when we first showcased these. Currently, if the Stars do not win, then I have no teams making it to their conference finals. Points wise, I started off hot. I'm currently at 76, and I don't know if this means I can possibly get 101 more points or if that's the total points that I can get. So, if that's what that means, then I can only get 35 more points. But if Dallas gets knocked out, doesn't even matter anyways. So, there's my bracket. Let me know that I suck in the comments, would you guys? I appreciate it.
You suck.
All right, who's next? Is anyone doing better
well,
than
I
I
mean,
am?
Nope.
yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like I don't want to share it because literally it's like I'm not going to get more points, but like here we go anyways, I guess. I mean, you want me to do this, so
Don't forget, the
I guess I'll do
loser
it for
of
you
the
because
bracket challenge
I'm a
has
gracious
to shave his
co-host.
head.
okay, well, it's
That
not
was
going to be
not
me,
in
so that's
writing.
good. Wait, can you see?
Oh, why
There
is
we
it
go.
so
Okay.
small?
And then second place,
I don't know why it's so small, to be honest. That is
You
weird.
got the whole Geico stuff going around that thing right now. What the heck?
Yeah,
yay,
I
I'm
don't know why it
cool.
looks like that.
I'm cool.
We are not.
Yeah, you
sponsored
are
by
cool,
Geico.
Zach. I forgot I named it that. Now I kind of wish I changed it. Yeah. So basically, there's like 3 teams that won in the first round. How much do you want me to do with this? I mean, this is pretty awful.
Oh my goodness,
This
Matt.
is really bad. But I
I'm
guess
sorry
it's
I
not
made you
wor-
go before me, buddy.
I don't think it's gonna be worse than yours, Derek. But I mean,
You are
if Dallas
actually
wins, I guess I can get some more points. But that's it right there. All right, I'm done. Thanks for making me do that.
Oh man, I'm actually sorry because that's actually worse than mine somehow.
How is that worse than yours?
Well, your max points, I'm already beating that, but if you can see it right here,
Oh, okay. Well, good for you.
obviously my entire bracket's done. Big girls don't cry. Big girls are crying tonight because
No, they
oh my
don't.
god, the only person I have left is gosh darn Carolina, and of course I have them already kicked out after Boston. But that won't happen because Boston's out. And oh my god, look who's next to them. Edmonton. Where are they? Well, probably on the golf course right now because they're not playing either.
Wait, scroll up a
So-
little bit. How many points do you have total?
A total of 68 out of a possible 68.
Oh,
so
so
guys,
Leslie, you might come in last, buddy. You might have to be shaving your head there.
What do you mean might? I am. I can't get more than 56 or 58.
he can't get more. He lost it.
Leslie's
can't get more.
shaving his head. Oh no.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
You
It
still
wasn't
have to
right.
do the
I take it all
fantasy.
back.
You still have to do the bet for fantasy.
No, I don't. I have to do that either.
Oh my goodness, you're a weenie hut general if I ever met one, buddy.
See,
Come on.
the thing is, like, with these bets, like, you don't actually have to do any of them unless they're, like, in, like, legal writing and shit.
See,
I have
Leslie's
it
the type
all
of person
legal
that
writing.
if I lost, he would make me do my bets.
I mean, I wouldn't.
He would.
Because-
Don't let him fool you.
I actually wouldn't.
Look at him. He's smiling right now.
No, I'm
He's
not
trying
smiling.
so hard not to.
I don't smile. There's nothing to smile about in my life.
He just grinned right there, Derek. You saw it too.
I'm not grinning. I'm not even making a face right now.
Well, I think that's about it on our
Thanks,
end,
man.
everyone, in terms of what we have in store for today. But we do have an announcement that we are going to be doing a giveaway this week. The announcement will be coming out tomorrow. We will not be letting you know today on this episode what it's going to be. So you're going to be following on our socials. Follow us on Twitter. Like our page on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. I also will be posting it on YouTube as well for all you guys that are watching us on YouTube. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to do it on Spotify. For those of you that are listening to us on Spotify, if you're not following us on our socials, go do that now. We really do appreciate it. This episode will be releasing on Monday, May 16th, 2023. Cha-ching! So yeah, be on the lookout for that. I know, Derek. I know. Cha-ching.
You lost me pretty quickly there. I was like, what?
All right, boys, let's go ahead and close it out. We got nothing else for today. So, final thoughts. Let Leslie go first.
Why do I have to go first?
Because you get the long rants, and we'll actually, you know what? Leslie, you can go last. My final thoughts are
Okay, good.
go Red Wings. The Leafs suck. The Oilers suck. New Jersey, I'm disappointed. Dallas and Seattle, it's still 0-0 in the second period, midway through. Go
Somebody
Crackheads,
score.
but I need the Stars to pull it through for bracket purposes, even though I technically already won our bracket challenge. So, final thoughts are done.
I'm so happy for you.
Go ahead, Derek.
Good job. You're amazing and everything.
Well, every team that is kicked out of the playoffs, apparently, you just suck. Go rebuild, or trade all your good
Players
players
to the Red Wings, so we can, for cheap, by the way, it's not expensive, cheap, because you need to rebuild and you just need to take whatever you can get at this point. But thank you, Leslie, for not making me the last place guy who has to shave my head, apparently, that I forgot was a part of that deal.
No, but actually you're not doing any of that. No one's shaving their head.
Leslie's
We're all going to
shaving his
keep
head.
the exact amount of hairs.
They
Yeah, no, we're
he
actually
thinks
all gonna
that,
keep our hair
but
in our head.
We all know where Leslie lives, so it's okay. So don't worry.
You actually don't.
I have his
I know where Zach
location.
lives. He doesn't know where I live.
That's a lie. We'll ask your parents. I have it
They
on
won't
speed
tell you.
dial. Oh, yes, they will. But that's about it. Go Red Wings. Every other team but us sucks. I guess not Vegas. I'm gonna lie. Go Vegas. My only team that I'm pulling for right now, because bandwagon since day one.
Well, my final thoughts are, yesterday, Edmonton and Vegas was the only playoff game on right now, and it was also a potential elimination game. You would think a game like that is a marquee game for not only the NHL, but also ESPN, because it'll make them the most money. It's a playoff game.
You're really making
guess
this
what time
your
the
final
game was?
thoughts?
Guess what time the game was?
We talked
Zachary?
about the
You asked me
playoffs
final thoughts. I'm giving you-
earlier.
He's ranting. Let him rant. This is why we had him go last.
You asked me for the. I'm not going to give you the rant now. Rant over.
Let's close it off right there, Leslie. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. Once again, for those of you that are returning, for those of you that are new, make sure you're subscribing and you're hitting that like button so Leslie smiles when he comes on the next episode with a shaved head.
Yeah, that's not happening.
And maybe Leslie will
Actually,
share
just
his
because
rant
you
at
said
the
that, now
start
I'm
of the
going to go
next
on my rant
episode.
again.
So thanks again, everyone. We appreciate you all stopping by. And until next time on Hockey Town University, go Red Wings. Bye-bye.
Go Red Wings!
Mwah.